Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Justin Kopet's Journey. It's been too long. So today, I want to tell you about the trip that I took. Now, this trip may seem real to some and not real to others. Either way, I would say that this trip is not real. We'll just call it that, just because it seems very, very fictional. Now, with all of that being said, here, let me close this window really quick. I want you to understand, especially after this trip that I was on, and I want you to understand the importance of designing. And I will explain more of it just because of the revelations that were given to me while I took this trip. So it began over the weekend where I went on a trip, and the beginning of the trip, I started with a sauna, really detoxifying the body, and it was awesome. I would highly recommend going and checking out this sauna place where they have cold plunges, infrared saunas. This sauna place was very cool because it had Himalayan rocks in the sauna, and then they were also pumping in oxygen. I don't know if you've ever been to the casino, yet the casino is very interesting just because when you go there, they're pumping that room full of oxygen, so it's like you do not ever get tired. And when I was in the sauna, I felt the same way. I could just sit in there, and with it being an infrared sauna, it heats me from the inside out, and then I went into a regular sauna where it heats me from the outside in, mixing in cold showers. Their cold plunge was actually broken at the time. So when I began this trip, a mass amount of confusion took over. And what I mean by a mass amount of confusion is it was almost as if I was a mind, yet I had many minds going on. I was a mind trying to escape the mind, yet I could not escape the mind because that was what I was, is the mind, if you're following me. And this is why I say it seems like a very, very fictional story, which this trip was a very fictional story. And I do believe there is a lot of interesting revelations that took place with this trip, just because it brings me back full circle to why it is very, very, very important to design. And I'll go more into why it's very important to design because, as I was in this mass state of confusion while I was going on this trip and this journey, it made me realize that, with where we're at here in this moment of time, whether you're listening, whether you're watching, whether you're driving, whether you're not driving, whether you're sitting or standing, however you tune into this, there is a purpose behind that. It is a precision of this moment of time that, you cannot get back. And if you think of a coordinate grid and you look at a map, right, there is specific coordinates for where you are exactly as you listen to this right here in this moment of time. Or for me personally, a specific coordinates for where I am sitting in this chair at this moment of the recording while you hear or watch or listen, whatever way you prefer to be tuning in, whether it's on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast, etc. Now, with that, I was receiving some downloads while I was on this journey, and it was specifically that. So if you've ever seen this movie, I personally, it's drawing a blank right now, yet they talk about many parallel universes in this movie. What really stood out to me, the movie is, in this movie, they had hands that were actually hot dogs. So like Oscar Mayer hot dogs as hands and fingers. And I know this seems very fictional. That's why I tell you it's very fictional. And with this movie and what it was describing is just all of the different parallel universes that are going on, which when I bring it back to a specific exact coordinates of where we are in this moment of time, it's very, 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 very specific. And if you can be very, very specific when it comes to designing, it may help you get that exact coordinate in whatever way you are progressing and moving in the future. So if you're following me there, what I took from this journey that I was on was that this is a very specific coordinates. And as we get back down into the nitty gritty, what you want to design when it comes to moving forward in the future is obviously your goals. And if you can design very specifically what your goals are, it may make it easier for you as a person to get to that specific coordinates in the future, right? And why I say that is some may call them future memories, as you have past memories. Maybe if we bring up the last episode that you listened to with this podcast, Justin Kopet's Journey, you were in a specific moment of time, in a specific place, whether, again, you were listening while you drive or at the gym or walking around or just sitting there in some sort of earth-moving machine, whatever it may be. And that in the past was very specific in terms of, what you were seeing, what you were hearing, what you were tasting, what you were smelling, what you were feeling, obviously, internally. And when you can be very, very specific on this coordinates as, this moment of time, and you plan that out in the future, it may make it very easy for you to recognize, more so than anything, the reality of where you're supposed to be in terms of aligning it with your purpose. So if you were to tap into your purpose and you were to design what that purpose is telling you in the future of what you should be doing, what you should be seeing, hearing, feeling, it may make it very easy for you to realize it along with actually getting there. Just because, in the past, you can think of there is a specific time in the past that you can recall clearly. So with that and with this journey, I really understood how important it is, especially if, say there are many parallel universes going on and we're in this very specific moment of time that we're at an exact coordinates. Okay? So again, I told you that this is fiction, and it is very much so fiction. And with that being said, I also got the downloads that there was this book when I was in this journey and on this trip that I was going through that had already been written. So if you think of a book, obviously a book is a book because it was written and then it was produced, and then you read the book and the ending of the book is already in the book. You just have to go through the full book to actually get to the ending, right? And if we think of this mass coordinates and we think of a book and say you're the author of your book, what if it was already written? Okay? What if it was already written by a specific design with specific coordinates that the ending is already in detail? It is just for you to now navigate through this book or through this life with and being in alignment with your purpose, and for me is God, that has already designed this specific life that I am to be living. And while I'm here, I obviously clearly have choices in which way to go, whether it be left or whether it be right or whether it be straight or backwards or up or down or sideways. I have that personal choice to choose which direction I should go. And by being tapped into your purpose and with God as the creator, it may make it very easy for you to fulfill that purpose through the will that has already been, say, designed for you as a person, the specific one who is here listening right now, to follow that specific path, which would be the will that has been designed for you to obviously pick and choose which way to go. Yet, if we think of a timeline, it leads you to where you're supposed to go no matter what. Yet, if you're in tune with the creator, with the source, and you're thinking of a line and you make all the right decisions, you can be in direct correlation and in perfect alignment with the will of the book that has already been written for you. So again, there is a lot that has been thrown at you, right? So what I'm working on saying for you is, what if your life was already written out in a book form, and it is up to you to obviously go back through and relive that book that has been written for you? And maybe you're the author of your own book, and you're now coming back here in this specific universe, in this specific coordinates, to now make the right decisions or not the right decisions to be in alignment, because either way, you end up where you're supposed to end up when it is due time. Now, if you were to be in alignment with the Creator, with God, and through it, with tying in to your purpose as who you are to be as a person, each and every step that you take, that you make, is in direct alignment with the Creator. And if the Creator is the author of your book, you may not have to go through the hero's journey of the ups and downs and the sideways, because if you watch any type of movie ever that's ever interesting, the hero in the story always goes through something traumatic, right? No matter what book, no matter what story, no matter what show you watch, the main character, which is you, always goes through some sort of problem, right? Now, what I do believe is, if you can get in alignment with the Creator, tying it in with your purpose and the will that the Creator and you have created for this specific moment of time, you can go through it without experiencing the hero's journey. Now, you might be saying, well, it's no fun without the hero's journey. I mean, sure, yet it's just one way that you may have been programmed to believe it to be, which is why I find it very interesting for those that persist on having to go through the hero's journey to clearly get to where they want to be. I think no matter what, you will end up where you are to be, because the book is already written for you, because you have those choices, and each and every choice, whether it be in alignment or not alignment with the will that you are supposed to be following, is going to lead you to the path that you're supposed to go. So even if it's not the right choice, say in the past you made not the right choice, then you end up redirecting yourself to get back in a straight alignment with where you are to be. Now, if you were to be able to make each and every decision that is in correct and direct correlation with your will through your purpose that you are supposed to be here fulfilling in this moment of time, it may be a lot easier for you. Now, with that being said, some of the other downloads for me personally is to just build more things, to create what some may call a heaven on earth here in this moment. And what I mean by that is, my calling in terms of the purpose from the journey that I was on in the past was to build things. Now, those are kind of the next steps in my journey in terms of where I do believe I am heading, just based off of the journey and the trips that I've been taking to get more in alignment with the Creator, with the source, with the one who has written this book already for me, Justin Kopet, as a person, to then get in alignment with it so I can fulfill the will that is set out for me. So coming soon, I know I help a lot of general contractors, and I do believe I'll continue to help more general contractors as it goes on. And I do plan to build more things and maybe even start some of my own things that will help build certain areas of things along this life and in this path. So I hope this is all making sense to you. I found it very interesting because, with it, you'll understand how this ends when I come to the end of this podcast, if you can continue to follow me while I speak to you in this moment. And I hope what I am saying is resonating with you, just because some of you, it may seem like it sounds crazy. And I understand. Completely normal. Especially when you weigh it and you times it in with the levels of energy that are in humanity. Now, if you go and look at some of the comments, especially the one where I speak about weed, you can see the lower levels of energy coming up and attacking me. Now, when you get to a higher source of energy, from the books that I've been reading. Levels of Energy by Frederick Dodson is the most recent one that I've listened to. And for those of you that resonate, you'll be at a certain level of energy to actually listen to the book. And those of you who are not at that certain level of energy will not listen to the book. You won't even entertain it. Now, with what this author said, it makes a lot of sense. Is just when you're in a lower state of energy, it's not that you're actually a lower state of energy person. You just have these types of pockets within you that drag your levels of energy down to where, if you look at it in terms of an alignment standpoint, and if you were to believe that the book is already written for you, things that are quote unquote hard are because they are not in alignment. It should be very easy for you to progress. And this is where society has been programmed by the hero's journey. They feel like they have to grind harder. They have to work until they collapse. They have to all this, that, and the other, which is, again, extreme. And it's very normal because that's how the populace and people, especially those who watch TV, understand reality. Okay? And for me as a person, I do believe it can be very, very easy, especially if you take each and every step that is in alignment with the book that is already written for you, and you take actions that are in alignment with your will that will help you get you to where you are to be. No matter what, I do believe you'll end up where you are to be, yet how easy do you want to make it? I have a mentor that talks about how much pleasure can you endure versus how much pain, So not too many people talk about how much pleasure you can endure along the journey. They're always talking about you got to grind harder. You got to work harder. You got to, again, work until you collapse, right? So I think that is all bogus just because those are lower levels of energy. And again, when you can get to a certain point, I do believe you can make it very easy on yourself. You just have to do the internal work. So again, to align all of this up, the other reconfirmation that I had this weekend was when I was at church. The preacher was talking about how internal chaos creates external chaos. Have you ever felt internally like the world has just gone mad and then everything outside of you is just going crazy? Now think of this quote: perception, internal, is projection, external. So if you see the world to be a great place full of loving people, that is what I do believe you will perceive outside. If you believe it's full of idiots, stupid people, those of lower energy, that is what you will perceive in the external world. Now, when it comes back to all of this stuff that I have been wrapping up and speaking to you, church was after I went on this trip. It's very simple and it makes a lot of sense. And if you can plug into your purpose through this alignment of this fictional story that I'm telling you, it may resonate with you internally. Now, how this story ends is very interesting, especially when I come to the end of this trip, was I woke up and it was all just a dream. Yet this dream seemed to be very meaningful, very full of purpose, very in alignment with what I speak to you guys about, which is something that I do believe I have to share with you as we go on, as we progress. So with that being said, if you want to connect with me, I am Justin Kopet on X. I am Justin Kopet on Instagram. Let's connect. Let's chat. And I hope this helps you people that tune in and listen. And with that being said, my friends, peace.